Do you cheat? Ever? Never? Come on. You lie to be polite to people, right? You say, you look thin. Or maybe you take pens home from work. Of course, you probably don't take petty cash home from work. So why? Where's the line? Intuition tells us that what stops people from cheating or stealing is when the risk of being caught or the severity of punishment exceeds the benefit of getting something for nothing. But the author of The Honest Truth About Dishonesty, How We Lie to Everyone, especially ourselves, says that's not the reason. He's Dan Ariely, a psychology professor at Duke. So it's not about getting away with it?
No, or getting away with it is a small part of it. It turns out that the biggest effect comes from the fact that we have two motivations. On one hand, we want to view ourselves as honest, wonderful, caring people. On the other hand, we want to benefit from dishonesty. And what we do is we try to balance the two forces. Now, you can say, how could you do both? You're either honest or you cheat.
Right.
Well, as long as you cheat just a little bit, we can cheat and still think of ourselves as honest people. So, for example, taking pencils from work works quite well. Taking petty cash away doesn't work because you can't justify it to the same degree.
And this group effect you tested yourself at Carnegie Mellon University. What'd you do?
In the basic experiment, we take a sheet of paper with 20 simple math problems that everybody could solve if we give them enough time, but we don't give people enough time. So I'd give you the sheet, and I say, solve as many as you can in 5 minutes, and I'll pay you for your performance. You go ahead, you solve as many as you can. At the end of the 5 minutes, I say, stop, count how many questions you got correctly, and now that you know that number, go to the back of the room and shred that piece of paper. You go, you shred that piece of paper, and I say, come back and tell me how many questions you got correctly.
So it's totally honor system.
Totally honor system, and you destroy the evidence. And people report on average 6 problems. Now, what people don't know in the experiment is that we played with a shredder. So the shredder only shred the sides of the page, but the main body of the page remained intact. We can jump in and find out how many questions people really solve. And on average, we find that people solve 4 and report 6. Lots of people cheat a little bit. Very few people cheat a lot. Lots and lots of people cheat by a few questions. Now, to test the group effect, we added 2 components. The first thing is we hired an acting student. And that acting student, 30 seconds into the experiment, raised their hand and said, I solved everything.
So he was obviously cheating.
Obviously. If you're in the experiment, you're still working on problem 1. You know that nobody have cheated, solved everything. And the second thing we did was we gave people all the money up front, and they paid themselves from an envelope. And the moment he raised his hand, the experimenter said, you know what? You solved everything. Take the envelope and go home. And now you see somebody cheats in an egregious way. What
People
happened?
copy him.
Lots of people copy them. Now,
what else can we do to increase honesty? Your tests have found something.
So we found a lovely thing, which we asked a group of about 500 students to try and recall the 10 Commandments. Sadly, none of them could recall all 10 Commandments, and some of them invented.
But they thought about the commandments.
They thought about it, and what happened afterward? When we gave them a chance to cheat in the same way, nobody did. It's not as if the people who remembered more commandments were different. No. The moment people thought about the 10 Commandments, they stopped cheating. Even if we take self-declared atheists and we get them to swear on the Bible, they stop cheating.
Thinking about morality and honesty made people more honest.